it out on the inside. Pick six, walk-in touchdown, TCU.
Now, D. Wood, you figure Belichick is going to make halftime adjustments. This is the first play of the third quarter.
Boy, when he did this, I literally turned the TV off because I knew it was night, Chapel Bill.
Belichick may have wanted to turn the TV off at that point. It was 27-7, and it would only get worse. We're still in the third quarter. It's 34-7, and then Devin Deal is going to scoop and score from 37 yards. 41 unanswered points for TCU, and the fans were headed to the exits early. D. Wood was getting some much-needed sleep for the morning, and TCU with a resounding win on the road, 48-14, your final. So Bill Belichick's transition to college hitting turbulence after one game. The 48 points his team allowed last night was the most any Bill Belichick team has ever allowed in his career, which dates back, I will remind you, nearly 5 decades. It did not happen in his 511 career NFL games as a coach, but it happens last night. Here was Belichick on his evening.
Yeah, look, they just outplayed us. They outcoached us. I mean, they were just better than we were tonight. That's all there was to it. They controlled both sides of the line of scrimmage. Their skilled players played well, and they did a lot more things right than we did. So, give them credit for being the better team. They certainly deserve it.
All right, it was startling, obviously, in so many ways, because you expect Bill Belichick to do things that maybe are almost impossible to do. And Heather, that may be why you were not at all stunned by what we saw last night.
Not at all. We have to remember that this was a complete roster flip. 70 new players, more than half of them came after spring ball. Think about that in terms of a preparation mode, right? This is not the NFL. This is a different way of building a roster. There are no preseason games to see what's working and what's not. Deion Sanders did this experiment at Colorado, and he had Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. You didn't see those guys out there in Chapel Hill, and even they weren't enough to win a conference title or compete for a national title. So, no, not surprised at all. What was surprised was how this did not look like a Bill Belichick coached team in terms of defense, missed tackles, fundamentals, the things you would expect to see.
Yeah, look, I mean, last night, and I thought my kudos to the people who put together our pregame show last night, because it was a fascinating hour. And the reality is all of the conversation was about Bill, and rightfully so. He's the most famous person. Well, there were more famous people, I guess, in the stands, but he was certainly the most famous person on the field. But the reality is, Greg, no one knew who the players on this team were. People know that TCU is a good team, but I don't know that they're not, but I don't think people are putting them in the conversation with Ohio State and LSU. Are you surprised that it was as one-sided as last night was?
I was, Greeny, and to be honest with you, yes, massive roster flip, yes, massive questions about continuity, but at the end of the day, this was simple X's and O's, and it was kind of unfortunate. You have Bill Belichick, mastermind defensively. No one is better in a big game, adjusting tendencies. TCU, by the way, in preparation for this game, had no idea what they were going to be. They watched some Washington, they watched some Patriots, they were chasing ghosts all off season, and schematically, they didn't really give their players many chances defensively. He just left corners on islands against the potential first-round quarterback and elite wide receiver core. They didn't really do much in the front to stop the run. This was a referendum on the actual schematics that were being used, and then offensively, the style was somewhat archaic for offensive coordinator Freddie Kitchens. They couldn't really run the ball after the first drive. The quarterback's throwing a tight coverage. The protection was unsound. I thought schematically, that's something that is kind of usually something that you can point to the coach, and that's not at all what I expected from a Bill Belichick coach team in his debut last night.
Interesting. Did you see that, Jimmy? He played for Belichick, of course, in the NFL. Did you see that last night?
Absolutely. And the one thing that Bill used to always say is you can't win until you keep from losing. And Heather mentioned fundamentals. When you talk about fundamentals and doing those things right, when you watch that UNC team last night, pick sixes. The simple things, the easy executed type of plays, it just didn't happen for them. The biggest thing for me, you talked about in that third quarter, turning the TV off, what Bill was known for was the adjustments he made on the sideline. You think about in college football, halftime is forever. I just knew you going down 20-7. They're going to come up with something to start this second half that's going to give them hope. 75 yards untouched for a touchdown. It was just like, good night. Very next possession, 28 yards untouched. That, to me, was the part of it that was confusing.
For me, that was the biggest indictment. I'm thinking, just like you mentioned, college halftime is so long, you can literally come up with a whole new game plan. That's what Bill Belichick has usually been at his best. And then they come out and the very first play, very first play, take it to the house. Like literally, to me, of all the things, that might have been the biggest indictment. I did no adjustments at halftime, and to see TCU just run all over a Bill Belichick coach team, I'm still in shock just looking at it.
Don't have the talent.
That to me was the thing. Look, I'm not an expert in football, and I don't know these rosters up and down, but watching the television last night, it was evident. It looked like TCU had more players on the field on almost every snap than Carolina did, regardless of which team had the ball. And that's obviously a bad sign, and I don't know how much of that is coaching and not. Graziano, we were having this conversation upstairs, and I think it's an interesting one, because people will ask, what does this mean? What could it mean for the legacy of Bill Belichick? And I think you had an interesting response.
Yeah, look, obviously it's one game. It has to get better. But the reason it has to get better is because I think this is what he's going to do. I don't think he's marking time before he gets back into the NFL. It seems to me the NFL has moved on. You don't really hear a lot about Belichick, and there aren't really a lot of his people still around the league. Most of them are in college, right? Bill O'Brien's at Boston College. Joe Judge has got Matt Patricia at Ohio State. So this sort of has to work. And if it doesn't, you do start to wonder, especially if it goes as poorly as last night. Like if it's a disaster, which you kind of doubt it will be, but it was poorly timed after an off season, which was kind of dominated by some unserious stuff, that kind of stuff that we don't generally associate with Bill Belichick. So you're watching last night and you're thinking, this is not the guy I remember. It's going to have to turn around pretty quick if he wants to make his mark in his new field.
What you weren't able to see in that Bill Belichick soundbite that we played for you, because our camera shot was appropriately tight, is that he was surrounded by these Carolina blue balloons, which was about the
down their nose at college coaches at some points, not all, not across the board, but they look down their nose on scheme. Oh, that won't work up here. Oh, you can't do that in the league. Oh, it's not going to be like that if you get to the show against real players. I think when you look at a lot of these college coaches, they're looking at Bill Belichick as kind of a sample for the NFL. And if we can take it to him, it proves that my system works at the next level. And that right now, amongst many college coaches, is where they want to go, because the NFL lifestyle is a lot more manageable than the college lifestyle right now. They don't have the players. They didn't make the adjustments. They struggled at quarterback until Max Johnson came off the bench at the end of the game. This is not going to get a whole lot better. And guess what? They got Clemson coming to town in a couple weeks, and Clemson has to kind of run a fine line down the stretch. So they got a lot of things to iron out. But hey, who's done it better in his career than Bill Belichick? Hopefully he can find some answers.
Heather, final word.
I don't know that they're going to find many answers. ESPN's FPI says they're going to win 4 games this year. 4.
So we'll see. I look forward to those 4 with bated breath. All right, you guys stay close by. We will have more college conversation as we go.